Hello and welcome to Think Fitness. My name is Nicola Hughes and I work as a personal coach, helping people to achieve better results in their personal and professional lives. I'd like to talk to you about healthy self-esteem. In my work, I frequently come across people who suffer from low self-esteem, requesting to have more confidence so that they can have more happiness and success in their lives. And I'd like to give you some thoughts about how to build healthy self-esteem so that you can have more confidence in your life. But to start with, I'd like to use a description of a tree to help with this process. I'd like you to think of a tree in two parts. You've got the trees and branches as the top part, and the roots and trunk as the bottom part. And the leaves and branches are what I would call your self-confidence, and the trunk and roots what I would like to call your self-esteem. In order for us to have healthy branches and leaves, we need to have a strong trunk and roots, and that starts with your self-esteem. And the difference really between your self-esteem and your self-confidence is your self-confidence is about what you do, whereas your self-esteem is about who you are. And self-esteem is about how you feel about yourself and how you view yourself. It's really about how you value and respect yourself in life. So it's about how you feel about who you are, not about what you do. And your self-esteem is really based on your self-identity, who you believe that you are. And who you believe that you are is noticeable in the language that you use. So we often use statements to describe ourselves, such as I am or I am not. So you might say to yourself, I am an insecure person, or I'm not very confident. Now these are common statements, but there's an interesting fact about them, is those statements, when we make statements that say I am or I am not, we're actually making a statement that is almost unchangeable. So I am not a confident person. That's just who I am. I'm not a confident person. And really in there, from a psychological perspective, we're assuming that that statement is unchangeable and permanent. So it can be very helpful to loosen up those statements, particularly the unhelpful statements, to loosen them up so that they feel a little bit more changeable. And how we can loosen them up is to change an I am statement or I am not statement into an activity-based statement. What I mean by that is instead of saying I am not confident, you say I am experiencing a lack of confidence, or I am doing low confidence. Although it may seem a very subtle change, what that actually does in terms of our mindset and our programming is it gives us some more options because it's less permanent. If we are experiencing or doing something, it's much easier to change than by saying an I am, that's who I am statement. Because the one thing about our self-identity is as human beings we will always stay true to our identity. It's almost like a fixed setting, because if we don't, we have an identity crisis and we lose who we are. So unconsciously we will always keep at our identity. So it's really important that we be careful of the language that we use when we are talking about our self-identity. So what I'd like you to think about is some of the self-identity statements that you may use about yourself. So thinking, when do you say I am or I am not? How would you answer and finish that statement? If some of your answers might be unhelpful, I would encourage you to start thinking about changing the I am or I am not statements into an activity-based. And by doing so, what you start to do is loosen up those limiting self-identity concepts. And that naturally will start to lead to a higher self-esteem. And by doing that, you're making your trunk and roots stronger and ultimately allowing you to have stronger branches and leaves in your self-confidence. So I'd like you to give that a go, and I hope you found that useful.